Dad will say a couple words, then I'll say some things, Ryan will come and say some things, and then we're going to turn it over. If anyone has some special words that you'd like to say about Dilip, please feel free to come up later on. We'd love to hear your stories and the memories that you have about his career and the impact that he's had on you and on Orlando over the years.
Thank you very much for coming here and making it. And first of all, before we do anything, I need a round of applause for Anita. She organized the whole thing here. She organizes everything at home for me. And then for about almost 50 years, 47 to be exact, Barbara Tollinger always organized for me. Thank you. I wasn't sure when this day is going to come because my job was given in writing for only 3 months. So it's amazing. They lasted 52 years. And until this time, I still have not been able to explain to people what I do. So I'll give you 2 episodes. I won't take too long. My dad came to this country in '74, first time. At that time, it was very easy to get in and out of power stations. So I took him to Peachbottom Nuclear Power Station, explained to him how the power is generated. So he was kind of amazed that I was trained in biology and able to talk about power plants. So I told him, I said, you know, this day and age, the engineers talk like biologists and biologists like engineers, so you don't know that you're talking to them. So I took him to the Peachbottom intake, and as it turned out, we were taking some impingement samples. So I had to explain to him what impingement was and so forth. So he said, oh, that's interesting. And so he looked at, I said, well, you got to look at the bin. And we count fish. These fish are coming out of the sluice. And so he said, what kind of fish are these? I said, well, they're basically trash fish, gizzard shell. So he asked me very seriously. He said, so does anybody eat these fish? I said, no. So does anybody fish for them? I said, no. So I said, what do you do with this after you do? I said, you know, after counting and so forth, we write a very long report and so forth. So he said, and the Americans pay you for that? I said, Americans are very conservation-minded. They don't like to see anything dead. So yes, I do get paid for that. And he was totally baffled. He said, people in this country must be very stupid. And he was a lawyer. So I moved on this a few years ago. I still could not explain to anybody what I do. They all knew I had something to do with fish. So this was a big, big wedding in India, you know, a lot of and big honchos from all over the place. And my cousin, very educated person and so forth. So he said, well, I got to introduce you to these people here. So I said, oh, okay. So he said, this is my cousin. He didn't even say my name yet. He said, his brother, older brother, is a very famous, well-known surgeon in the United States in Brooklyn. And my cousin here, he lives in the US. Tom can't say, I do something else too, you know. But anyways, so fisheries is still to this day to a lot of Indians very, very difficult to explain exactly what fisheries is, what consulting is, and that sort of thing. So, but anyways, I do want to thank all of you, certainly a lot of the people that helped my career all along. And one of the, Skip just corrected me, one of my old friends oldest friends, I should say, Skip Basin. And he started actually with the original Theological Associates. That's what I worked for. And a year later, I joined it in '67. And when Skip got the job, the project leader at that time was Tim Robbins. And he was sent from Cornell to Drumore, or Holtwood at that time. And the boss, Dr. Ed Rainey, he said, Tim, we're going to study the effects of muddy run pump storage station. So he said, and nobody knew at the time what to study, what to do. And he handed over, he said, these are the conclusions. He said, just go sample for fish, and apply order. So that's how this started back in '67 for me. And when I got the job, they just said, you have a job only for 3 months. If you screw up, you're gone. And I'm sure I did, but I hung around. So actually, technically, I was very, very blessed that I had a chance, and Philadelphia Electric at that time, Exelon now, that gave us all the opportunity to work with some of the finest biologists, very educated people, very known in their field, and we had a chance to work with them. Engineers, lawyers, it was just unbelievable. So, and they also funded some of the pioneering studies that all the Theological Associates did. And they're still very well known in the literature and so forth. So I happened to be part of it. Skip was part of it. Then after that, Dr. Rainey was kind enough that he actually, I said, well, Doc, I got to, my 3 months going to be up, and I like to stay in this country. So can you write a letter to the immigration people? They say, oh, okay. So he wrote a letter, a very nice letter. So I got my green card, and immediately after that, I tried for my citizenship. And there are two people I want to thank especially for that. Is Paul Heisey, who I worked with for 50 years. He attested to me, and Eric, come on, get up, and Paul. They truly are responsible for my being here. I was very, very blessed. And to this date, we have had very good friendship with her. So that's about all I can say. I can expound a lot of things, but those are the major events in my life. And professionally, you know, you could do all kinds of. The one more thing, Muddy Run report, get back to that. When the first summary report was written, it was 35 pages long. And after that, anything that has been written, talked about, no technical work, nothing. Just how to do things, they run into about 50 to 80 pages. And has basically nothing in it. Thank you very much. Enjoy yourself.
Of course, we're here to celebrate Dilip's illustrious career, but for a moment, I'm going to turn the attention to me, because one of the things I realized is how important both of my parents' careers are to me. And I guess we don't oftentimes think about the sort of legacy thing that we pass on to our children in the way that we conduct ourselves professionally in our careers. But my dad's career significantly impacted my life. Many of you here in this room were at my wedding. You know, you came to our house every year for Super Bowl parties and other sporting event parties. We grew up going to summer picnics at that the company would pay for. This was back in the day when the company would actually pay for the booze at the summer picnics, and that would never happen. But I grew up with many of you, and so you influenced me, and you ended up at my wedding. How many years? Almost 28 years ago. And so it's such a powerful impact that his time at now Normando affected me and Ryan. You just don't think about it until you really stop and reflect on the breadth of his career. And his career also influenced us because of how my dad conducted himself within his profession. He always had a sense of excellence and almost ferocity about what he did. He was passionate and very dedicated, highly loyal to the company and to his industry and for what he did. And he held himself to a very high standard, and that absolutely trickled down to Ryan and I, and then I think into our children as well. It really made a very big difference. And the last main area that his career influenced us was from the glorious days of the 80s, during the Watergate years. He spent how many weeks upon weeks upon weeks with Skip in Washington, D.C., learning the finer points of fine dining. And he passed on to us an appreciation for a steakhouse that I just don't think many other people have. And again, you think these small things, but they influenced our lives and was a direct result of his career. So that's turning this whole evening back to me. But the idea is that it really, the career that he led had a very significant impact on, I think, both Ryan and I. And we're grateful for it in ways that you don't even really consider until you stop and truly reflect on his time at Norma Doe. So thank you all for being so supportive of him and providing an atmosphere for him to really thrive in his career. Thank you.
Oh, hi. So I'm Ryan. I'm my youngest son. My dad's youngest son. So I won't say Dilip because that just sounds funny to me, even though it is my middle name. So I'm a professor at Juniata College, and obviously everything in my dad's career has impacted me to be what I am and what I do. I'm what's called an isotope geochemist, and I deal with time and deep time. So I thought in a way, what I want to talk about was think about the time that Dad spent in his career, right? So we were coming in the drive on the way down here, and I thought we should take it from a scientific approach so we could quantify his career in some way, right? So what we did is we all argued for a while about what we should do, because that's what you do, right? So let me get Nathan send me this text. So 52 years, that equates to 13,000 days of work. Think about that he's worked. If he worked 5 days a week is what we assumed, right? And we assumed that he actually did take 2 weeks off, which I think is an assumption that's not good either. But we assume these things, and so that then equates to 104,000 hours worked. Wow.
That's a low level.
Yeah. I know. So let me get there. I'm quantifying this, right? This is a low. We have to approximate. Right? Scientists estimate, right? That's what we do. We approximately say what we think we think, right? Okay, so that means at 104,000 hours, right? If you equate that into, that means if I started working today, I'd have to work 24/7 for 12 years.
Wow.
24/7 for 12 years. Think about that. That is just amazing. And I agree. It was certainly longer than that. But that's a lower end, right? And then, so that's always, as a geologist, right, we like to talk about orders of magnitude. It's on that order, right? So, you want to think that way. And then the other interesting one, as I'm shaking here, he drove just to and back to work. We estimated, 34 miles. So it's a 68-mile round trip. So he did that 52 years, same days, almost 900,000 miles.
Wow.
He has driven back and forth to work. That's a lot of miles, right? And that doesn't count all the other stuff he was going towards DC or wherever else he went. And so these numbers sort of give you a glimpse, I think, of the order of magnitude of his career and how impressive it is just by a measure of time. And I think what's important about that isn't necessarily the numbers, it's what's behind the numbers, right? I mean, how do you end up doing something like that? That's an amazing thing. And I think what it speaks to is his dedication and devotion and his true passion for what he does. And so, to me, I hope the take-home message that I got when I was thinking about this is really, he taught us how to really love something and appreciate it and do it as best we can. And that 52 years speaks to that in one place. And that's something I'm very proud of.
Okay, I'd like like to, before we open it up, ask Kim to come up. Oh, there you are.
Hi, for folks who don't know me, I'm Kim Long. I work at Exelon, and so I met Dilip when I started my career as a subject matter expert in Bob Benny's group doing fishery stuff and supporting Conowingo relicensing. And I can say congratulations, Dilip, on your exemplary career and just for the influence that you've had on all of us that have had the opportunity to work for you and with you. But I'm here also to announce and congratulate you on an award that you will be presented by the American Fisheries Society from their Fisheries Management section. A bunch of us worked together to put forth a nomination to nominate you for the Award of Excellence. And so we recently found out that you were selected for the Award of Excellence from the AFS Fisheries Management section, and they will be presenting that to you if you're willing to travel to Reno in September. And so on behalf of those of us for the nominating team, we congratulate you on just your profound career and the influence that you've had to the scientific community with respect to fisheries management as well as other things. And all of your years of service, not only to the Susquehanna River watershed, but many other river systems. Your influence is profound, and we're surely grateful for you and to be in that circle with you. So congratulations on both accounts.
Thank you very much.
All right, who's next?
Oh, break.
Hello. So just so you know, on his way to Reno, he still will stop in Vegas. Reno's just not good enough. So yeah, I just want to touch on a couple things from a business perspective that I kind of learned from Dilip over the years. So I actually first met him about a year before I met Anita. And it was more through her mom, because I used to be one of her students, and that's a story for another day. But the first time I met him, you know, he was dressed like Dilip dressed, right? I mean, crisp blazer, you know, red handkerchief, red tie. I didn't know what he did. I figured high finance, you know, or stockbroker. Somewhere around here, maybe I got the funeral director, like fisheries biologist. I'm like, fisheries biologist, really? So he, you know, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So I don't know what job you want, but maybe you'll go after it now that you're retired. So appreciate that wisdom in terms of attire. So I tried to, you know, do the best I could to do my best to leap and dress up. The second thing was, if your company's going to give you something for free, you take it, right? So the two things I can think of is when I first got my first job and was talking to Dilip about it, he said, they have a 401k. And I said, what the heck is that? So I had no idea what a 401k was. This was back in 1989. He said, well, you know, you put in money and then they match it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll do that later. I said, no, don't be a fool. It's free money. They're giving you free money. Take the money. So I started that then, and there's a decent sum that has accumulated over my 30 years, so thank you for that. The second thing, though, was he had a car, a company car, which is something that is relatively unheard of these days. And a lot of people think Dilip, and he does enjoy the finer things, but there are things that if he gets it for free, he will hold on to it like grim death. And so he had this car 17, 18 years,
17.
and were it not for his lovely daughter basically browbeating, remember his commute, right, okay? He wasn't going 5 minutes down the road. He's going 68 miles a day in this beat-up 17-year-old Volvo.
The air conditioner broke.
Air conditioner broke, yep.
300,000 miles.
300,000. He was on his way back from the moon, basically. That's how long he had the car. And I tell you, if it weren't for her, I guarantee you he would still have it. And then the last was, and Anita kind of alluded to this too, was and most important too, the wonders of how to take full advantage of fine dining on an expense account. So thank you for that. That's a wonderful thing. I I don't know anyone, like when we have conversations, it goes to one of 2 or 3 places, like football, college football, Auburn football, and steakhouses. So that's what we talk about. So I hear about steakhouses all the time. And did I mention Dilip's Indian? You get the irony of the steakhouse thing there? So, anyway, so congratulations on a wonderful career. And I look forward to more of our journeys together in Vegas.
Okay, anybody else?
Dilip, you got a problem. I got a problem. You got a problem. My name's Dave Ellenberg, and I was the guy at Muddy Run. Worked for Exelon, the old Pico. And I will give you a couple of comments about Dilip. Number one, he was one of the greatest guys to be able to provide us with staff with no problem whatsoever. There were people like N. Kodkis, who's passed away, who was the true biologist, as far as we're concerned, and knew everything there was to know about environment. There was, who else, Sue? Bob Schutsky, who knew everything in the world about birds. And Carl Richardson. Those 3 guys really helped make Muddy Run what it is, or what it was, from an educational perspective. We won Take Pride in Pennsylvania, Take Pride in America in 2000 because of the staff that we had, and that included Shadi, Sue, the people I just mentioned, and everybody else. Dilip was so infatuated with what we were doing at Muddy Run. He would come over once in a while just to say, what's going on today? What are you doing today? Let's go for lunch. He was great going for lunch. He was terrific, okay? Now then, here's the bottom line with this whole thing. He hired a lot of part-time people. One of the part-time people was a gal by the name of Sue Salisbury, who suddenly became Sue Ellenberg, my wife Sue. And she wrote a, what should I call it? A 501c3 educational grant where we got $270,000 for environmental education. First utility to be able to get an educational grant, and we used it for instructing teachers on how to do the job. And I have to tell you, it was Dilip's folks who helped us do that. Of course, Sue, the whole 9 yards, they were great. They were a terrific group of people over there at RMC. And the other side of it was Dr. Rainey was another kind of individual. Dr. Rainey, Tim Robbins, Dilip Mather, they were terrific. And you know, I can't not say anything about Paul Heisey, who really did kind of help things along. And Paul, congratulations, thanks. I'm glad Dilip mentioned your name in there. Anyway, Dilip, you are the man. Congratulations on your retirement. I have to tell you, we're about the same age, but I retired 25 years ago. Hope your retirement is big time. There you go.
I was gonna go here, go
Thank you
there.
so much. Who else?
right.
Everyone just sneaking out loud.
I told a story tonight when I came in about Dilip. Nobody had ever heard it before. I heard about him before I met him, before I saw him. And everybody kept saying, oh, can't wait till Dilip gets here. I just can't wait till Dilip gets here. Everybody was so excited about this man called Dilip. And I heard at that time when I started in 1972, Tim Robbins was my boss. And then I went to Steve Gash, Dr. Gash, and then I came to know Dilip. But how we met was this way. He came in the door, and I thought to myself, oh, that must be Dilip. So I stayed put in my desk, behind my desk, my chair, minding my own business, and I heard Tim Robbins say, oh, you need to go back the hall and see Bob. And I thought, who's he calling Bob? So I hear Dilip come back the hall, and he comes in he walked back, I think, and then a couple times, he was walking around and walking around. And he was looking for Bob. And he kept saying, do you know where Bob is? Do you know where Bob is? And Tim Robbins had that real heavy New England accent, so he didn't pronounce ours. So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, he's going to come in here. So Dilip walks in my office and he goes, excuse me, he said, do you know where Bob is? And I said, could it be the name Barb? Yeah, I think that's it. I said, I'm Bob. So that's how I got to meet Dilip. And then later on, I became his secretary. And, boy, he kept me busy. I straighten him out now and then, but for the most part, he has been a gentleman, always. He is a good teacher. He helped me grow up. I don't want to do this. He helped me grow up. He listened to me. He listened to my rants. And then he would say, okay, now, you got to look at it this way. Or, well, you got to look at it this way. Well, did you ever think he was out of all the bosses that I've had, he's the only boss that ever listened and ever cared. He is the gentleman of the century for me. I respect him, and I'm going to miss him awful. Keep him busy.
Get another old man up there. Well, since my name's been mentioned a few times, I started there in '68, November '68. I remember coming in, and my sister was going to Millersville at the time, and she said, "You're studying a fish on the river." I said, "What are they studying the river for?" Because I grew up on a farm, I thought, what are they studying the river for? But I had a degree in biology, so I went down, and Tim happened to be away. And Dilip was there, and he said, "Sure, we have a job for you. It'll probably last about 2 months." Yours is 3. About 2 months. Well, it's been 50 years for me, not 52, but 50. But it was really cool because it was supposed to be just a short time, and I learned everything on the job. I mean, not taken away from college education, but when you learn so much on the job, and Dilip taught me so much. I mean, basically a lot of us, we learn from each other. We just learn practical ways to do things. We're always excited, trying to find new ways to do things. And I think that's what made it so exciting, especially what Dilip alluded to, working with Exelon and Philadelphia Electric. They gave us permission, they gave us time to experiment and try things out. And because of that, we became, I think that when the company, after a couple of years, we weren't needed as much. Exelon had a lot of things straightened out, especially with Muddy Run and everything. And it looked like it was going to be a bleak time. But all the things we had learned we were able to take that and then move on and then start doing work around the country. And so we've had the privilege of traveling with my group, traveling to send people to Russia, to France, just had a group went to Austria. And so we've had a lot of opportunities to do exciting things. And some people say, well, when are you going to quit? And I said, well, I'm kind of like on vacation. I mean, I work 20 hours a week, but yeah, I really enjoy what I do. So I don't know if I'm going to make it 52 or 50, or I'm not sure yet. But I still enjoy what I do. I thank Dilip so much. And I think he got in trouble for hiring me too. Because I was the first outsider. I didn't go to Cornell. I was just a local, went to a local Millersville E-Town College, you know, but I'm glad that he stepped out. He did get in some trouble. I think he only got fired one time. We all got fired at least once or twice when we worked for Rainey. I think I only got fired one time. But I've enjoyed working with Dilip so much, and I hope he does take a little time to do something besides fish work. I know it's going to be hard for you to do this, very hard, but I know you want to volunteer time and all that, but take some time, enjoy your family, take a break. We miss you though, we'll miss you very much. Oh, yeah, hang on.
You can even talk while you're walking in.
So Dilip, a couple of us put this together for you.
Wow.
It says, a portion of Dilip's passion. I managed to get 30 of his reprints, 30 of his title pages on here. We reduced them, you can see most of them. It was only a portion, that's why I put a portion of Dilip's passion. I think there's at least 50 different publications he's had, but I got 30 of them on here. So I thought you might enjoy this.
Absolutely. Thanks, Paul.
So Chris Avalos and Corey helped me a lot with this.
Thanks, guys. It was worth keeping you, Paul, and I hired you. I think that's fired for hiring you. And I told Rainey, I said, I got a new guy here. I just hired him. He said, who the hell told you to hire me? I said, well, we needed some people here, Doc. He said, you're fired. So after about a week, I was hired again.
He kept sending paychecks.
Yeah. That was a good sign.
All
They were all
right.
handwritten too, so.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll say something.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Oh,
see.
hold that, hold that.
Skips first.
Oh, no, Skip's first. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
I'm gonna bring you back to earth. This goes back to when Dilip and I got involved in the relicensing of Conowingo. And at that time, I was doing a job for DPNL over on Chesapeake and Delaware Canal. And I'd been working on the Upper Bay for a long time. And he calls up and said, Pico wants us to write some questions for the hearing, but